Good morning and welcome. This is Pastor Lucy Painter with your daily insights. And yesterday we started a topic called Matters of the Heart. And we said a prayer that the Lord will search our hearts and see if there is anything like David prayed. And as we continue today, I understand that some of the most basic components of identity include language, values, customs, and expectations of the world around you. You see, when you say you are an American, there are those things that people automatically ascribe to you. When you say you are African or an Asian, there are some things that people expect you to be familiar with or to be doing. And we call that biases and assumptions. Identity inspires in us a sense of who we are and who we relate to others that we are. Our identity forms a stable core and an anchoring point to our individualities and value. And that identity, or in other words, who we are, is what determines what we do. We are doing a study in the Teens and Twins program this season. And one of the theme focuses on identity. If you read the book of Samuel and Psalms or anywhere else that David is mentioned, you realize that he was not called a man after God's own heart for no reason. As imperfect as he was as a man, David is portrayed in the Bible as a kind man, a generous and a noble man. He was a repentant man, a man who had unwavering faith in God. Psalm 78 verse 72 describes another character of this man, and this is what I want us to talk about as we continue with this month's topic of Matters of the Heart. He is described as a man of integrity who governed Israel by the skillfulness of his hands. David aimed at nothing else but the glory of God during his reign. Integrity and the fear of God were the maxims of his government. This was a man who was humble first before he was exalted. His beginnings were as small as it could get, but at the height of his achievements, the heart he had when he was a shepherd did not leave him. This is a man whose character was shaped by his relationship with God. He remained upright before God, never swerving in heart from the obedience of God. He was sincere in his allegiance to God, and he shepherded his people with an honest heart. He avoided and abhorred the counsel and the causes that were contrary to the will of God. And he acted in singular prudence and sought the good and the welfare of his people. He did not seek his own honor and interest or the advancement of his family. David fulfilled his vocation with a pure heart. He realized God's design and followed it to his last day. I know I've said so many things about David, and you'd like to point out of the sins he committed, of the times we know that he didn't do as according to the will of God. And as we talk about matters of the heart this month, I want us to assess our heart and ask ourselves if our hearts can be described in the manner that David's heart was described. Does our relationship with God inspire a sense of identity in us? Does what we relate to the world reflect a people who know God? We said at the beginning of today's podcast that our identity is determined by what we do sometimes. Our values, our thoughts, our actions, all these are anchored to a certain core. And if that core is not stable, if what lies in our heart is not founded in God, we can only maintain some characters for some time before we slide back to our real selves. And so I want us to be challenged today I mentioned that many a times we remember that David slipped. He made a mistake. He committed sin. But we see a heart that is repentant. His relationship with God really matters. And so let us desire to have the kind of heart that David had. A heart that seeks for nothing less than the glory of God. A heart that has unwavering faith in God. May we desire to let our relationship with God shape our characters until those who interact with us can say these people are a people of integrity. This is a man, a woman with an honest heart. This is a young man or a young woman whose obedience and allegiance to God has not wavered, because what is in their heart is solid. In Jesus' mighty name. Is what is in your heart solid? Moments of reflection. Reflect on that as we meet again tomorrow. Shalom. This is Pastor Lucy Painter with your daily insights, and this is Matters of the Heart, Part 2.